Hello friends and welcome back to my session. This is Dr. Priya Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management, Jamia Millia Islamia. In my last session, I had discussed about various sustainable development goals and also about sustainability. Today, we are taking this forward and discussing a very interesting session on protected areas and sustainable development. So, in our session, we will be able to talk about the overview of protected areas. What are the various importance of protected areas, various types of protected areas, benefits, challenges. We will also discuss various ecotourism certification programs and sustainable tourism marketing. To begin with, we should first most understand what are protected areas. So, protected areas are designated regions that are managed and conserved to preserve the natural, cultural or any type of historical significance. Also, these areas are legally protected and managed with the aim of safeguarding the ecological integrity and promoting the sustainable use. The examples of few protected areas can be national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves and some marine protected areas as well. Okay, now what is the importance of protected areas in terms of conservation from the purview or angle of conservation? So, the first is biodiversity preservation. The protected areas serve as a crucial habitats for various range of plants and animal species and includes endangered and rare species as well. They provide safe havens for these species to thrive and contribute to overall biodiversity conservation. The second, it ensures ecosystem stability. That means the protected areas help maintain healthy ecosystems by preserving critical habitats, regulating water flow, preventing soil erosion and supporting natural processes such as pollination and nutrient cycling. The third is it encourages the genetic diversity. By safeguarding the natural habitats, protected areas protect the genetic diversity of species, which is vital for their long-term survival and adaptation to various changes in the environmental conditions. Now, what is the importance of protection area in the aspect of biodiversity preservation? The first is endangered species. Endangered species protection leads to protecting the areas offer refuge and breeding grounds for various endangered species, which helps in the recovery and also preventing them from being extinct, so that if we are able to provide them the optimum conditions that are required, the favorable conditions that are required for their breeding, so we will never be out of those type of species and we will never face the crisis of those species and their extinction. Also, the ecological balance. The protected areas play a very crucial roles in maintaining the ecological balance by preserving the interactions between the species such as predator, prey relationships and mutualistic associations. Also, the keystone species conservation, which is that many protected areas focus on conserving keystone species which have a significant impact on their respective ecosystems. By safeguarding these species, protected areas help sustain the health and function of the entire ecosystem. So, this is very important how we can have the biodiversity preservation through the protected areas. Next importance of protected area is in the view of sustainable tourism, which is foremost important, and it includes the economic benefits. The protected areas can serve as a major attractions for many tourists, like when they are going to visit any national park, any type of a wildlife sanctuaries, any type of biodiversity parks or a marine ecosystems through scuba diving or even snorkeling. It helps in supporting various generating revenue and supporting local economies through visitors' expenditures, accommodations and other recreational activities like jungle safaris or other that they undertake. Also, it creates a very good source of job creation. Sustainable tourism in protected areas create employment opportunities for the local community, including the guides, the hospitality staff, artisans and entrepreneurs. Everybody in the system is benefited through the expense of a tourist. Also, the very foremost important thing, that is cultural preservation. Many protected areas are home to so many indigenous communities with rich cultural heritage. Sustainable tourism provides an avenue for the preservation and celebration of indigenous culture, traditions and knowledge systems. Now we will talk how the sustainable tourism serves as a means to support various protected areas. The first is through minimizing the environmental impact. That means the sustainable tourism practices aims to minimize the negative environment impact by promoting any or some sort of responsible behavior among tourists, such as waste reduction, energy conservation and sustainable transportation options. The second is community involvement. The sustainable tourism in protected areas involves and is definitely encouraging engagement and empowering of local communities in decision making processes, which helps in benefit sharing and capacity building to ensure that they have a stake in conservation efforts. The last is funding conservation. The revenue generated from sustainable tourist activities can be channelized back into protected area management conservation projects and also for the community building development initiatives. Now, what are the examples of certain tourist practices which are sustainable in nature and carried out in various protected areas? So, the number one is ecotourism. It encourages low impact tourism activities which focuses more on environmental education, appreciation of nature and respect for local culture. Second is sustainable infrastructure, which aims at developing eco-friendly accommodations, visitor centers and trails that minimize ecological footprints and blend harmoniously with natural surroundings. Also, the interpretation and education, which provides educational programs, guided tours and interpretative signage to raise awareness about the importance of protected areas and also promote responsible tourism behavior. Now, what are the various types of protected areas that we should know? The number one is national parks. So, there is a very thin line difference between a national park and a wildlife sanctuary that we will be seeing here. National parks are large areas of protected and managed by government that are dedicated to preservation of natural and cultural resources. They are often feature diverse ecosystem, iconic landscapes and significant biodiversity. National parks provide opportunities for recreational activities while ensuring the conservation of their unique natural and cultural heritage. There are so many national parks which are famous globally and also in our country which attracts lot of tourists around the year. Now, what is wildlife sanctuary? Wildlife sanctuaries are designated areas specifically focused on protection and conservation of wildlife species and habitats. These areas aim to provide a safe haven for endangered or threatened species and promote their breeding, migration and survival. Wildlife sanctuaries often have restrictions on human activities to minimize disturbance to wildlife. That means they do not encourage any type of human involvement because they will definitely be having the intention to harm the wildlife habitat or the environment. Now, biosphere reserves. So, biosphere reserves are also type of a protected area which combines the conservation, sustainable development and scientific research. They typically consist of three interconnected zones, which is a core zone area dedicated to conservation, a buffer zone which surrounds the core area where limited human activity is permitted, and a transition zone where sustainable development and community involvements are encouraged. So, biosphere reserves serve as living laboratories for testing and promoting any type of sustainable practices. Then comes the marine protected areas. The marine protected areas, which are also known as MPAs, are designated regions in oceans, seas or other water bodies which aim to promote marine ecosystem and also protect the marine biodiversity. MPAs can include coral reefs, seagrass meadows, mangrove forest, which is a very famous forest in Sundarban Delta region of our country, and other critical marine habitats. They often impose regulations on fishing, pollution and other human activities so that to maintain the health of marine ecosystem and support the sustainable fisheries practices. So all these four popular areas are the protected areas which are open to human with very little or no intervention. Now we will discuss about the various benefits of protected areas. The various benefit of protected areas includes the first form, that is through ecotourism. It is about encouraging low impact tourist activities and keeping in mind and majorly emphasizes on various environmental education, appreciation of nature and respect for local cultures. Second is sustainable infrastructure, which aims at developing eco-friendly accommodations, visitor centers and trails that minimizes ecological footprint and blend with along natural surroundings. Next is interpretation and education, which provides educational programs with the aim to create awareness to our tour guides and also having various awareness programs about the importance of protected areas and promote responsible tourism activities. Nevertheless, the protected areas also talk about cultural preservation, which means that many protected areas hold culture and historical significance, preserve indigenous knowledge, traditions and also sacred sites. The recreation and education play a very important role as protected areas offer recreational opportunities and serve as outdoor classrooms, promoting the physical and mental well-being while raising environmental awareness among people. Last is research and scientific discovery, which is protected areas provide valuable sites for various scientific research, contributing to the existing knowledge advancement and also informing various conservation strategies. Good points or certain strengths, there are definitely the challenges in protecting area management. Poaching and illegal activities. The protected area often is under the trap of poaching or hunting activities, which will definitely help in degrading our marine or any type of terrestrial ecosystem. So this should immediately be stopped, and there have been various legal and strict actions which are taken against the poaching and illegal activities. Also habitat degradation. If we are not able to give ample of support to the habitat development, then definitely it will degrade, and there are so many destructions of forest which ultimately leads to the habitat degradation. There are also limited resources through which we can operate. So when we talk about protected area management, then there are also fall of resources which helps or which can support the development of a particular area. Last is conservation community conflicts. Definitely, when we talk about preserving or protecting any areas, then we have to divide even the local community of that place, and this gives a rise to the conflict among the people and also against the conservation of certain areas. What is the principle of sustainable tourism? There are basically 4 principles of sustainable tourism. The environmental sustainability, which talks about not harming the environment and carrying a tourist activity. The second is socio-cultural sustainability, which talks about any tourist activity should always talk about respecting and celebrating each other cultures, all the cultures of the natives and the local people and the host community, rather than offending them or hurting their sentiments and even disrespecting their culture. Number 3 is economic sustainability. Any tourist activity is bound to support the economic activity of that particular place, which helps in generating the revenue, also removing poverty and giving employment to lot of tourist stakeholders. Now there can be different types of sustainable practices in various protected areas, which can always be, there should be a low impact tourist activities. That means any activity with the agenda to harm the environment should be discouraged, and there should be low impacting environment activities which is not causing any major loss to the environment or any major intervention with the environment should be discouraged. Responsible wildlife viewing should be done. That means any incidences of hunting, poaching should be discouraged, and strict action should be taken against any such people who are practicing this. There should also be sustainable infrastructural development. That means any means of infrastructural development should be eco-friendly, should always be with the intention of not harming the environment. And also one such example of such infrastructural development can be the eco hotels or the green hotels that are coming up, with the intention of providing green accommodations to the tourists so that least of the impact is being harmed or being caused to the environment. Last is educate and awareness programs. Education plays a very major role. If the people are not informed, if they are not educated about their role in sustainability or their role towards the environment, then definitely they will not take a pride in practicing any activity which is eco-friendly. So we should try to create that culture or generate within them the feeling of being a responsible traveler and also contributing towards the development of Mother Nature. How do we balance conservation and tourism? The conservation and tourism can be balanced through stakeholder engagement and collaborations. That means there should be some sense of understanding within the stakeholders of the tourist practices. Also, the adaptive management approaches should be there, which should not be harming the environment. They should be made, all the approaches should be favoring the environment and should be sustainable in nature. There should be a visitor capacity planning. There should be a carrying capacity plan incorporated everywhere, that for a particular destination and for a particular period of time, only these many visitors should be allowed. After that, once that destination reaches a particular carrying capacity, for the time being there should not be any permission given to the visitors to visit. Then we should repeat this every time so that we are able to maintain the footfall and the carrying capacity of a particular destination. Also, we need to monitor and evaluate. No programs, no campaigns or no agendas will work if we have a poor monitoring or evaluation program is weak. So, we should timely monitor and continuously evaluate our proposed agendas and our proposed campaigns and programs. Now, there are certain ecotourism certification programs which are very useful in terms of sustainable tourism. So, some of the most important among them are the 4 programs, which is GSTC, that is Global Sustainable Tourism Council, which provides criteria for sustainable tourism and certifies at destinations, hotels and tour operators worldwide. The second is Rainforest Alliance, which focuses on sustainable agriculture, forestry and tourism, certifying businesses and promoting conservation and community development. Third is EarthCheck, which offers a benchmarking and certification program for a travel and tourism industry, accessing environmental performance and supporting sustainable practices. Last is also one among very popular and a common certification, which is Green Globe, which certifies hotel, resorts, the attractions for sustainable operations, waste management, energy efficiency and other community engagement programs. Now, what has been the role of community involvement and the local management for promoting the protected areas and sustainable tourism? It basically leads to empowerment and capacity building, which is involving communities in decision making and providing training opportunities, enhances their skill knowledge and capacity to actively participate in any tourism activity. Second is sustainable livelihoods. The tourism can provide economic opportunities for local communities through various job creations, entrepreneurship and also revenue generation. The third is cultural preservation. That means engaging communities in tourism allows for the preservation of cultural traditions, custom and heritage, fostering cultural pride and resilience. Now, sustainable tourism marketing and promotion. There are various means through which we can sustainably market the tourism and promote the various activities. Like, we need to first and foremost decide that who are our target audience. That means our target audience should be very responsible travelers. So, we need to only target who are responsible. We should showcase unique biodiversity and cultural heritage. We should try to partnership with various travel agencies and also some tour operators, and try to have lot of digital marketing presence and strategies, because today everywhere the most effective form of marketing is digital marketing. So, we should try to promote the tourist activities or the destination through digital marketing campaigns. Now, what is the role of education and interpretation programs? That means there should be certain visitor centers and interpretative signage. There should be guided nature walks and tours which can help people to understand more about and basically immerse in the experience of tourism. Also should have workshops and seminars on conservation. We should try to educate people on conservation through the seminars and the workshops. It can be even organized through government funded agencies or a private non-funded agencies as well. Also, there should be some citizen science initiatives taken. How do we monitor and evaluate sustainable tourism? Through there are environment impact assessment programs. There are also visitor satisfaction surveys that we need to involve the people who are visiting our destinations. What are they feeling? How they are reacting to the changes? Are they contributing towards the conservation? We should try to know all this through surveys. We should tracking key performance indicators, and we should try to map how are they performing, what is their rating, and also there should be some type of continuous improvement and adaptation. What are the partnerships and collaborations? We should try to collaborate with government agencies, non-government organizations, also involve local communities, and some private sector engagement should be there. The summary of today's session is that the protected areas are very vital for conserving biodiversity, ecosystems, and protecting endangered species. Challenges definitely will be faced, such as including the poaching, habitat degradation, and limited resources for effective management. There are certain sustainable practices which should be taken care, which will help in providing the economic benefits, preserving the culture, heritage, and minimizing any form of environment impact. The way forward involves the strengthening of conservation efforts, engaging local communities, and fostering collaborations and partnerships. Also, by addressing challenge, we are embracing various sustainable practices and involve communities. We can definitely ensure the long-term protection and sustainability of protected areas. So, with this, I conclude my session, and I hope you enjoyed and understood how important is the role of protected areas in sustainable tourism and how it serves the purpose. Thank you and have a very good day.